Hello class, this is Ms. Chelsea, and it's my great pleasure today to discuss digital literacy in the classroom with you. Before we jump into the nitty-gritty of this topic though, I'd like us to unpack our ideas of what literacy is and what it's usually thought of as. So right now, pause the video and doodle a symbol of what literacy looks like to you. Take about 30 seconds on this particular activity. All right, excellent. So most likely you may have drawn a pencil, thinking of literacy as being able to write, or you might have even drawn a picture of somebody reading, like this little boy in the lower right-hand corner. Both of these types of pictures are the ones I most commonly see, and they speak to this traditional idea of what literacy is. Dando defines this as the acquisition and practice of reading and writing. While that is what literacy has encapsulated for, the past few hundred years, it doesn't encapsulate everything that we do. So now think back to the ways that you've engaged in literacy over the past 24 hours. You may have texted a friend. You may have learned a new skill from a YouTube video. You may have had discussions about social justice and inclusivity on Reddit. All of these don't fall into the old paradigm of literacy, and they speak to this new idea of multiliteracies. Multiliteracies, as defined by the New London Group, is a literacy pedagogy that focuses on broader modes of representation than language alone, those that differ according to culture and context. So these encapsulate many more activities than we would traditionally think of as literacy. Nonetheless, they're all ways that we communicate and ways that we engage with the world, ways that we must apply our critical thinking skills in order to shape the world around us. So some examples of these multiliteracies at play include writing a song about some event going on, or learning how to read a piece of art, not just looking at the narrative within it, but also examining how the brushstrokes are used to create mood and meaning. So pause the video again, and in your notes, write down other examples you can think of related to your discipline that might fall under a multiliteracies definition. So that brings us to another literacy to discuss, and that is digital literacies. So the American Libraries Association defines this as the ability to use information and communication technologies to find, evaluate, create, and communicate information. In fact, what I'm doing right now, creating a video, is an example of digital literacy. Other examples we discussed before, texting, watching a video, or even using Reddit. All of those are digital literacies. And there's a lot of benefits to using digital literacies in the classroom. Not only does it prepare students to use these skills that are demanded of them in the workplace, but it also prepares students for active participation in an increasingly digital social landscape as well. This allows them to be able to interact with and shape their world as they live in it. It also increases student perception of the quality of their work as well. And this was found in a research article by Nobles and Paganucci in 2015. Students that created a blog or a Google site found that the recursive process of editing involved in things like making a wiki led to better outcomes and a better quality of work than writing on pen and paper alone. So what kinds of digital tools can we pull in to our classrooms? So as I go through each of these tools, be sure to bookmark these for future use. I absolutely love using these in the classroom. So for students with dyslexia, I like to use CommonLit, which has a screen reader that allows them to listen to the story or article as it's being told, instead of just relying on sight alone. It also has various footnotes and vocabulary definitions at different points in the text. And it is fully interactive. You can have what's called guided reading mode that pauses for checks for understanding. And it's very easy for students to use and allows them to kind of chunk the text so that they get it at every single point. For the English Language Arts class, I really like using Storyboard That. This is also very useful for history, but Storyboard That allows students to make comic-like timelines, storyboards, and other products to show their understanding. And it also helps them focus on showing rather than just telling. And this indeed is a different form of literacy. It's very fun for students to use. They can change the poses of the characters that they put in their products. And for all classrooms, but especially the science classroom, I like using Nearpod. So this allows one to make fully interactive PowerPoints that allow students to follow along with their phones or their laptops and answer checks for understanding as they go along. This increases student engagement and also gives teachers the ability to see whether or not the students are getting it as they go. So how will you incorporate digital literacies in your practice? So pull out those examples you thought of, those examples we examined earlier in this video lesson. Now, expand upon them. Write down one way you can use your current skills to pull digital literacy skills into your classroom in the next week. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.